So I want to talk about, we're just talking about the growth of government, right? John Tierney, and we're talking to him tomorrow, and the ratchet effect, and government grows in times of crisis. Usually when I think about government growing, I think of money, right? Like bureaucracy and higher taxes. But there's other aspect of the growth of government as well, and that is the protection and or taking away of our freedom and liberties. So that's what I want to talk about right now. I want to do that with Jenna Ellis. She's a senior legal advisor to the Trump campaign team and also attorney, private counsel to Donald Trump as well, and also a senior fellow at the Falkirk Center. Miss Ellis, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
Good. My pleasure. I'm glad you're here. So let's talk big picture. Where do you see, first, civil liberties being taken away from people or not being given back?
Yeah, so within the context of all of these shutdown orders and the lockdowns and everything, the government on the state and local level is inverting this idea of what we in America understand as freedom and liberty and what actually our Constitution provides for. So I think this is an opportunity for Americans to harness our civil liberties and actually understand the Constitution in context, because our Declaration of Independence recognizes that our liberties come from God, our creator, not our government. And the sole purpose of government is to preserve and protect those rights. Now, they have specific limited powers in order to do that. But even in the context of a national emergency, that doesn't then justify any of the governors or the state and local leaders to then turn around and phrase the question, well, where's your right to get a haircut? Where's your right to conduct your business? And where's your right for XYZ? That's how they are trying to manipulate the conversation. The question really should be, where governor, where local leader do you get the authority and the power of government to implement these kinds of restrictions and regulations on freedom that you are?
Okay, I'm so glad you started here. Can we just slow that down for a minute? Because I think it's so important for everyone to be able to visualize that perfectly and imprint it on their soul, because it can completely change how you view all of this stuff. So the proper, I think you and I would argue, formula is rights come from God, and then what? What's next? And then what's the hierarchy here?
Yeah, so and actually in my book, which is called The Legal Basis for a Moral Constitution, I have what's called the hierarchy of government that's actually in a model. It's a pyramid that shows that that the Constitution is built upon this idea that government is its only proper role is to preserve and protect our rights. So the way that I best explain this is we typically in America will say, I have a First Amendment right to freedom of speech. I have a First Amendment right to free association. I have a Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. Well, that's actually turning my right into a privilege, because it's saying, but for the First or Second Amendment, I wouldn't have that right. That's not the proper phrasing. I have a pre-political, fundamental, God-given right to freedom of speech, to keep and bear arms, that my government is obligated to preserve and protect. And so in context, we have all of the rights that God has given us, and we haven't turned over any to government. We the people, have vested government actors and officials with specific limited powers for this express purpose of preserving and protecting all of our rights as individuals. And we have to remember that the federal government has limited power, the states have limited power, and then the rest of the power of self-government actually belongs to the individual. So things like school choice, free exercise of religion, all of these choices of business participating in the marketplace, the government cannot tell us what to do and how to exercise our freedom. Now, of course, our rights are not absolute. That's why government exists with some limited power. But we have to, in America, recognize again and turn the conversation back to freedom and liberty, and recognizing that the government is obligated to defend where they get the power to enforce any regulation, because the fundamental presumption is always freedom and liberty.
Slater Crusaders, thanks for watching the first on YouTube. If you want more, like, subscribe. We got plenty.